What to do if your SBA application is declined? Yes, this does happen. It is a thing. Happens quite often, actually. And in terms of what to do, I would say the number one thing to do would be to check that decline letter and really try to understand why you got declined. There could be myriad reasons. Could be credit, could be cash flow, could be something that when it got into an actual underwrite and they pulled background on the company you want to buy or loan against, or the borrower. Any number of issues could have come up. But if it's one of the first two issues, cash flow and credit, I would argue that maybe you should reconsider who you're working through to get that SBA loan, right? So any good SBA loan officer or broker for that matter is going to really thoroughly review your credit and your cash flow up front before the deal even gets that far, right? Because none of us, you, yourself as the borrower included, wants to really waste time and effort on a deal that doesn't have a chance because, let's say, your credit score isn't where it needs to be, or the cash flow just isn't there to meet the debt service. But let's just say it does get through. You get that decline letter. The second thing I would do is reconsider maybe what bank you're looking at for the SBA loan, because not all banks look at and underwrite SBA loans the same, right? I mean, they all have the same requirements from the SBA, but each bank may take a different spin or look at your deal, right? For example, some banks must have real estate to do an SBA loan, some don't. Some banks are more comfortable with less debt service coverage than others, right? There is a little bit of a variance there. Some are more favorable to certain industries versus other industries. So the ones they don't like will get a harder review, a harder underwrite. So those are all things you could consider. And then, like I said, I would strongly consider who you're working through, right? You shouldn't really be getting declined on credit after you submitted a full package to the bank for review, right? That kind of stuff should be figured out. That's one service we definitely provide up front for our clients, soft credit pull, just to make sure this is even doable for you as the borrower. And we'll also do a pretty thorough cash flow analysis, right? Because those are, cash flow is probably, I would argue, the most important thing in terms of an SBA loan or any loan, really. So those are two things you can definitely reassess after you get declined. And then, I know there's some folks say you have to wait 90 days. Sometimes that's true. But again, if you're looking to maybe go with a different bank, you might not have to wait 90 days, right? So those are just a few things you can do if your SBA application gets declined. And if you have any questions about this, we're always around to help out. Thanks.